everybody. Some of you may or may not know me. My name is Xander. I'm a suicide prevention officer at Playhouse. So Northumberland is one of the lovely counties that I cover within my job. So with that being said, we have Lewis here today. Lewis is a 40-year-old veteran, joined the service in 2003, serving both Iraq and Afghanistan. He's 40 now, since left the service, and is struggling with a variety of different issues. So
the main thing I'm struggling with, and I've been struggling with for a while, is like, this is going to sound like a really weird thing to say, but just sort of normal life, if that makes sense. Like, I've kind of gone from having like a routine and being told when to wake up and where to go and what to do. I never had to worry about bills because I literally came out of college. So then joined up in 2003. So basically from being about 19 to, well, sort of on and off to about 2014, I had everything done for me. Not in a lazy way, but in a, like, I didn't really have to think about anything. I was told where to go, what time to wake up. And since sort of coming out of the service, I've found stuff really difficult, like council tax and like setting up, like when I move flats, like cancelling my water supply and gas supply there and setting a new one up when you move, which stuff that like is, you know, makes you constitute as being a normal adult. That's all kind of new-ish to me. And yeah, and I just feel like I'm slightly behind everyone else, and you know, it does have a knock-on effect on your mental health, which I'm just sort of starting to pay more attention to. You know, mental health and ADHD and all these new stuff, these things that are cropping up now that when I was 18, it was just you crap at tests. So yeah, there is a knock-on effect in terms of like my day-to-day life. Like I do struggle.
So what kind of stuff, you say you've been struggling with normal life and you know, issues with mental health and stuff, what have you been doing to kind of help with those things, whether they be good or bad things you've been using to help yourself? For the most part, objectively bad. It's not that like there was a drinking culture or anything like that. It's just that that was my sort of go-to, and then since coming out and having there was nothing stopping me having a drink at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody was saying you can't do that. Where are your, do you have any family members? Have they been supporting you? What's kind of been the situation for them?
So, my parents are divorced. I'm not massively close with my dad. My mum is really, she's really quite supportive, but, you know, she's, like, I'm not a kid, do you know what I mean? Like, she's got her own life. She's 73, and my nan is down in a care home, and so she has to look after her. So like, I can't expect her to drop everything and look after me. Like,
yeah. And what about friends and stuff as well? Since leaving the service, do you keep in touch with people? Have you met anyone?
I do keep in touch, but the problem is obviously when you come out, you are like scattered all over the place. And obviously I've gone back to where I grew up, like Middlesbrough. And the last time I was there sort of full time was like when I was 18, 19 year old, and everyone my age, or not everyone, but like the vast majority of people my age are, you know, married or probably married and divorced. Going out and meeting new people is like, so this is horrible. Just, you're all really nice, I assume. But like, this is like, it's all right because this is like a controlled environment, do you know what I mean? But like, if I was to go into like a busy pub or a busy club or something, like, nah, absolutely not. Like,
Are you currently involved with any mental health services support?
I earlier on mentioned like the whole ADHD thing. I haven't really gone to the doctors because I don't know what I'd say to them. If I did, I'd have to like write a list of stuff, but like, I haven't done that, so I've spoken to Mind a bit and spoken to people over the phone a few years ago about like, just because somebody had mentioned it to me like about an ADHD assessment, because that might help. But I've been on a waiting list for 3 years. So if something like that's going to take 3 years, I don't really hold much hope of like, I don't have a lot of patience. I like, and that being told that I'm waiting, it's going to take a lot of time. It just becomes incredibly frustrating, and you feel like you're back at square one.
Well, if you could describe a really good day that you are where you want to be, what would that look like? Do you know?
A day for me that I would just go would be like, that's a great day, would be where the decision-making process was either done for me or it was clearer. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's not. I'm not saying I want to go on holiday and do stuff like that. I just would like stuff to make a bit more sense.
Assessment for ADHD, because like yourself, he was on for a long time, and we sat on the psychological assessment with him, and yeah, absolute classic. So obviously, if and when we can get that assessment and get the diagnosis, that'll make a massive difference to you.
I did go to like a veterans breakfast thing, which was really weird because I felt like it was just me and loads of old blokes. And there's nothing wrong with like old blokes, but I just felt like it was the people who went there. It's different generations of people, and rather than it making me feel better, it made me feel worse. Sorry.
So just going back to your when you left the army,
Yeah.
Two-part question really. What support did you get? And you mentioned veterans breakfast. It sounds like not really appropriate and useless really. That probably made you feel worse. But what support did you get? And the second part of the question is, what support would you have liked?
And so the support process when you leave is like, if it was as comprehensive as when you sign up, it would be great. But it's not. And it's not that like I would say I wanted like a course to like acclimatise to life, but it would have been nice. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like when, it's like when you see kids talking about like, I wish at school that taught me how to do me tax instead of playing the recorder. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's stuff like that. Like, I wish some basic life skills, like you have to set a direct debit up for your water payments, otherwise you'll go into debt and it'll affect your credit score.
I can relate on two issues. One is that I'm very late diagnosed with ADHD.
Cool.
And not got formal diagnosis yet, but it virtually destroyed me.
Do you still get your yearly reminder that you're on a waiting list?
Yes.
I had mine the other day, yeah. I get mine yearly now, and it's a nice little reminder that it's still not working. Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to cope, and I was great. I had an amazing GP, but I felt really isolated. I felt, on the discovery of it, I felt isolated. I felt weird. And then one day I walked into an organisation who was all about supporting people with neurodivergency, and it was like I couldn't speak. And they just said, "Come and sit down, I've got you." And everybody spoke that same language, and just finding that. And while I thought I had hope that I was going to get my diagnosis quite quickly, and I quickly ran out of patience with that. But at that point in time, I really wanted to set up like support groups for people who were waiting for their diagnosis, so that they could just come together, form a club, and then create a network where you phone somebody up and you just say, I'm in overwhelm, I'm not coping, and somebody says, "I get you, and I've got you."
I think that's what it is regardless of what's going on up here, it's somebody who just go, "Cool, yeah, like, do you want to sit down and do you want to have a chat?" And not, because I think there's a stigma around like when you go to like counselling or whatever, they're gonna like sit you down and go, "So what's your relationship like your parents?" and stuff like that. I don't know, like that's the thing, I don't know, like it's just, and if I'm going to talk to somebody, sometimes I don't necessarily want to talk about like issues and stuff. I just want to talk about stuff. Like, did you put the bins out? stuff like that. So having that support of somebody that goes, I'm listening, say as little or as much as you want, would be a great thing.
And the other thing that I get is an ex-daughter-in-law who was in the forces. She did 2 tours in Afghanistan. And you're absolutely right, it's disproportionate the amount of time that's invested in training you and then just dropped.
Considering people are like so open about stuff now, you still have to like seek it out, going on the internet and going, right, mental health services, and then loads come up and you don't know what to click on, and then you do click it on, there's a waiting list and stuff like that. It just becomes, it's like that overwhelmed thing. You go, well, I'm just not going to do any of it. Whereas if somebody were to break it down for me, that would be super helpful.
You mentioned thoughts you've been having since leaving the service. You've mentioned some mental health stuff as well, and like some anxiety about meeting people. When you say thoughts, have you been having thoughts of suicide?
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said no. I've obviously not acted on it because, hello. But that doesn't. It doesn't negate the fact that they're there. And like sometimes it's not as explicit as like I'm going to, I think what's the term, unalive myself is the term that kids use. But sometimes it's like rather than being how do I say it? Rather than like an explicit thought, it's like implicit in the back of your head a lot of the time. Of like they're not the easiest thing to talk about. But it's also a case of like it's not as linear as, oh, I'm having this thought and I've thought about doing this thing.
Thank you for telling me. It takes a lot to talk about it. There is a lot of stigma around it, but going through what you've been through, it's very normal to have those thoughts as well. And if you are struggling kind of adapting to civilian life, those intrusive thoughts, you know, it's normal for those to kind of creep in if you are struggling with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've learnt a bit more about Lewis. You know, he's got family, but doesn't want to kind of put pressure on his mum. He's looking after grandma as well. We know there's issues of substance misuse as well. Has tried a veterans group, but people were too old, and struggled to kind of relate to people within that group as well. And just wants to find out what different services might be out there.
I want you to bear that in mind when we go into this next bit and we start talking about how we can help Lewis. Because I know for a fact, when you were all sat on your own, you thought, I can help him, I can't help him. This is in my remit, this isn't in my remit. This isn't for me, this is something else. If he was an asylum seeker, that's our bag. If he was a single mother, I can help him. But the fact of the matter is, there is something in each and every one of your work that could apply. Putting together disparate ideas is where creativity comes from. So I want you to be really open, think outside the box, try something different. Because if what we are currently doing worked, Lewis wouldn't be here.
Got about 15 minutes,
Yeah.
I would say, to sort of start having that little conversation around the table about what you think or you feel might be some good ideas of where simple things usually are the ones that work.
So what is the route? How do we tell Lewis who's out there hasn't been that's something
I'm not saying for national
So what I'm going to ask is I'm going to ask for one observation or question that's come up on each table so that we can have a bit of a conversation and drive a little deeper into those things that have come up. Okay, so we have got identity, we have got short-term solutions for long-term gains, we have got being needed, volunteering, and we have how to engage someone back into services without them feeling like a burden, essentially, that they're begging for help. Those are all issues that we don't advertise support for, on the whole. We are suicide prevention and support. We are
you know, we provide support if you've got alcohol addictions, we have got issues, we have got solutions to your issues. But I would just like to see anyone who feels like there is a connection between those four things that I've just brought up, because I'm curious about what you think.
Can I just ask, I might be a little bit controversial here, but
Please
you're
do.
from Northumberland County Council, did you say?
Yes.
What provisions do you have in place?
On the back of that, that would again rely on Lewis being made aware that that service exists. So in terms of the council, would you have links with the services to say anyone that's being discharged, if they need this, point them to us?
So I'm literally 6 weeks into this new role as a Veterans Community Coordinator for the Council. And we've just been brought in to work with the Safeguard and Resilience team. So over the past 6 weeks I've been talking to, there's 45 organisations in Northumberland that support veterans. That includes breakfast clubs, you've got your cycling clubs and your wellbeing groups. You've also got your charities, your KICs and your social enterprises, and I've rang every single one of them to see if they're still coming and doing what they're doing. And over the next 2 to 3 months, and we've already started doing this, is we're building a clear pathway that when somebody does approach the council, that we then follow that journey of that veteran to, so my job is to build the relationships with that organisation. Because there's 15,000 veterans in Northumberland.
If we remember our first conversation with Lewis, one of the things that he said was the waiting lists are really difficult for him. Asking for help is really difficult for him. Approaching statutory organisations is very difficult for him. Now, the council can work extremely hard to try and overcome those barriers, but we are still laminated. There is still that barrier there. So that is where we talk about gaps. And it's not necessarily a gap in provision, it can be a gap in connection.
Yes.
So have a think about that, I guess, when we're looking at these solutions then.
In regards to regimental life, it is regimented, they're told where to go, what to do, and the fear of putting a hand up to ask for help, should that not be a mandatory service when leaving the army in the first place?
Well,
The
yeah.
pathway should be there, because if there's the stigma about putting your hand up to say I need support, we're going to lose people in that process. Would it not make sense to have that as a mandatory to remove that gap? That way they receive the support with the option of withdrawing. That way they're in there and they're getting something.
Some people have been leaving the army within 4 or 5 days by medically discharged, kicked out for drugs, whatever it may be, and they've gone from 18 months to 3 years of training, and then all of a sudden a week later they're nobody. Yeah. So that is a massive problem in terms of understanding that as well. So they're actually going to be potentially rechanging that structure so they do get a little bit longer, so that they can be. I see it as falling into something rather than just pulling them into it. A little bit better, yeah. But you're right, it is, well, for most people to put your hand up and ask for help is quite embarrassing, like I said before, you know.
Well, one of the words that I've used a lot in the last few months is empowerment. So there's so many amazing services out there, and everybody, we're all working really well together to put sticky plasters over the functional, systematic problems that are out there. But really, for me, what I hear is about a lack of empowering people to actually take that first step. We're all here with our own arms open, ready to help, and we wrap our arms around somebody, pick them up, but who's actually doing something to encourage somebody to take that first step? That, for me, is the biggest gap. And I don't have an answer for what that is, but I just like to highlight that, because it seems to be no matter what door I go through at the moment, it's always, I didn't know where to turn, I don't know what to do. There's so much out there and nobody is pushing people in the right direction. And just on your point before, sorry for quite the name, John, Mary's, with what Sean was saying, it should be an opt-out type of service rather than an opt-in. That would be a great solution. I know you're not going to be able to fix that systematic problem, but you know, by bringing everything together, I just think if we could focus on Lewis as an individual, what would encourage you to take that? You know, TikTok's a great one for me. What would that empowerment solution look like for you, I suppose?
I don't. Well, the TikTok thing's not for me. I've just about got my head around Instagram. I don't know. I suppose it's like, it sounds like it's a cop out, but it's not. It's a combination of what you were saying and what you're saying. It's being made aware of it in the first place, and then, like you say, rather than it's like you say, it's systematic and it's a tough thing to enforce. But like, the opt-out rather than opt-in thing is you are made aware of these things and you can choose not to have them, rather than going, here's a lot of things you could have, which one do you want? And that, it's weird, it's the difference between, here's a list of things that you could have, which ones which are not applicable, and then here's a list of things, which ones do you want? That, I don't know why, but that one's harder to navigate than that one. And I don't know what the answer there is, but like...
Do you see that sitting with the exit service from the forces?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So the opt-in thing would, it's a list of things that you are then made aware are there, and you can like, even if you go, I don't want it, at least it's on your radar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas like, if you have to search it out, and I know there is like responsibility on the individual to do it, I know that. But like, if you have to search it out, that's a, because there's so much out there, which is great. Well, but it's both a great thing and a bad thing, because there is so much out there, you go, that's great, but like, which one do I pick and which one is the most suitable? It's like I was saying, you know, with my experience of like the right to choose thing, like you go on and there's about 30 different options and I go, which one do I go on? And then I'll click on that one and that's 6 months and that's 9 months and that's £400 private. And it's like, I would just like somebody to go, we think this might be the best fit for you. Yeah.
So I just want to bring it back to those 4 issues that were raised around identity, around short-term action, long-term solutions, around need, and around kind of access. And one of the things that it's great to hear Lewis saying, as a matter of fact, is that there's so much out there. We are constantly being told by people that there isn't the support out there, but we all know we're trying to provide it. And the issue is not necessarily provision, but access. Now, we had a great conversation on this table. We asked Lewis what he wanted to be doing with his time. You know, if he had all these things sorted, what would he do? He said he liked walking. And we were very, very fortunate, and I'm going to pick on you, Sean, I do apologise, because she said, I don't feel I'm really qualified to be here, I've only just started volunteering recently. And yet she gave the most accessible, impassioned explanation of why volunteering can change a life. She talked about having routine, she talked about having purpose, she talked about being able to talk to people in a way that wasn't direct. She talked about helping someone get a mobile phone contract sorted out just because they were painting doors together or something. That meets 90% of what Lewis said he needed. We need to get him into volunteering. We think about means and ends a lot. In our own little charities, we have ends. We have the end of preventing someone from alcoholism. We have the end of ensuring someone's benefits are sorting out. We have the end of getting people into secure housing. But those are really means. Getting his benefits sorted, getting routine into his life, getting friendship groups, social networks, these are all the means to the end of Lewis having that rewarding life, potentially leading a walking group for veterans of his age. What you said there about red tape, about those dossiers, about all that medical history, is largely irrelevant to that. That's a big pile of barriers. Those are just all the things he might struggle with. You focus instead on that. How can we get Lewis from not feeling like he can reach out to being the volunteer that helps out the local walking group? What does he need for that? And the solutions for that are in this room. So what I want you to do to take away from this is I want you to think of one thing you could do in your work that means that the people you work with can think about their end less than the means. And I know that we are at the end of this session and we need to draw it to a close. So we're going to do one more round of clapping because we need somebody to finish it off. So does everyone remember?
All right.